We are live now.
Yay, John's a slacker. He'll be here later.
Yes, he should be coming soon. So,
Slacker.
oh man, how was your week?
Crazy, but good crazy. Um, yeah. Yesterday I sold a whole bunch of sponsorship, so
Nice.
that was good. Yeah, that's always nice. Um, One thing that's kind of interesting with that is that I just set up some sponsorship calls instead of sending people to the order form, and
Okay.
then I just emailed them an invoice, and that seemed to work out pretty well. So I think I'm going to change up the way that the app works a little bit so that I can just send people a proposed um, set of sponsorships.
Okay. So you're compiling it for them?
Yeah. So essentially, yeah, we get on the phone and we would have the conversation about basically, okay, so what do you need? What are you trying to reach? You know, who are you trying to reach? What are you trying to accomplish? And then and then I could just send them a proposal basically. And so it would be, hey, out. So yeah,
That makes sense.
here's what we're doing. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
So yeah.
when you get them on the phone like that, it's like it's an immediate decision. They can't like flag you and archive you. Right?
Yeah.
Reply later, follow up later.
Yep, absolutely. So anyway, so I've got that going. But the other thing is that I'm trying to do two things at once. But anyway, so the idea is I also think that once I get on the phone and I basically start talking to them about what they get and I can, make the sales pitch a little bit better,
Mm-hmm.
then then they're willing to buy. And so then the other thing is if I have some handy system for here's what they're asking for, so then I can just quickly just block in, just check off all the stuff that they're saying they
Yeah.
want. Because a lot of times they're like, okay, so how much is that going to be? And then so I give them the number and it's, hey, here's this information, right? um Here's the number. Then I can say, okay, now I'm going to send you an invoice, and then that'll take them to the system and it'll automatically reserve the stuff that I flagged in the proposal.
Nice. So you're basically just you're using the same basic form, but you're just doing it for them?
Yeah, I think that's the direction I'm going to go. I'm going to leave it up so that people can still, they can come into the system and you know buy it themselves.
Right.
If there's an if I send a proposal though, what I'll probably have it do is I'll probably set it up so that the system reserves those spots
Mm-hmm.
for a specific amount of time. So once I filled out the proposal and they say yes, I want it, send me an invoice, it will send them the invoice, and then I'll just let them know, hey, look, you have 2 weeks, and then it's going to release those episodes or those
Okay.
be
Oh,
sponsored.
nice. Nice. So you've got the scarcity element in there.
Yeah,
I like it.
but that way, then I don't have to worry about somebody else coming in and picking up. Oh well, I already sold that to somebody else and I hadn't put it in the
Mm-hmm.
system yet, which is where I'm at right now. Um, I'm not sending a ton of people to the website anyway, but anyway, so that worked out. And interestingly enough, so I got 3 new sponsors. One of them sponsored quite a long time ago. The other one has sponsored, but in a different way. And the third one, I wasn't even sure we were going to line up a sponsorship so much as just do some kind of like revenue share.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is somebody that we've talked about here on the show. And we're probably going to do some kind of revenue share for the React Dev Summit. So I'll list them as a sponsor, and we'll offer some kind of offer to uh, conference attendees.
Oh, cool. I know who this is.
Yeah, I should just say it. I don't know why
Yeah.
it's any secret, but
Yeah.
this
This
one
one.
is what's the name?
Interview Cake, right?
Interview Cake. Yep,
Parker. Yeah.
but I didn't think I'd actually line them up for a podcast sponsorship, and that wound up happening. So they're sponsoring Ruby Rogues for 4
Oh,
episodes.
great.
So we'll see how that goes. But I'm also starting to, with the sponsors, have different kinds of conversations with them. So one of the things that I discussed with Parker was I essentially said, look, it helps if you put up a landing page. It helps if you give some kind of discount, some kind of incentive for them to come in and say, hey, Ruby Rogues, right? So a coupon code, or come to this page to get the discount or whatever. And then I also said, essentially, let me play with Interview Cake, and then let me record a testimonial for your landing page.
Oh, yes.
A video testimonial, right?
Yep.
So that there's solid continuity between, it's not just, oh, they're paying Chuck for this, but it's, oh, Chuck's actually looked at this and he likes it.
Yeah.
And so I'm part of his audience, and hey, look, I know and trust this person, and see if that helps conversions. So the other thing that I also asked that I've not really asked sponsors in the past is, how many of these do you need to sell in order to break even?
Oh, good. Yeah.
So that was nice, because that kind of gives me a number, right? It's like, okay, we have, so many thousand listeners for Ruby Rogues. I think right now we're around 8,000, 8,500.
Right.
So how many do you need to sell? And, so at the pricing and the discount and everything for Interview Cake, I think the number was somewhere around 20.
Okay.
And so I'm sitting here going, okay, so yeah, I just need to sell 20 Ruby Rogues people on Interview Cake, right? And so that kind of gives me an idea. It gives me a concrete vision for it. And so I can actually look at it and say, okay, I've got to put together an ad that is good enough to get, 100 or 200 people to go check out the landing page, and hopefully 20 of them convert. So
nice.
But yeah, so I'm also just really invested in making sure that everyone who sponsors, it's like, look, if you're willing to play ball and do this the right way, we will make this pay off for you, right? So I will do I have to review the product, but I will, if I like the product, I'll do a testimonial for it. If, set up the landing page or give some kind of incentive to come, with a discount or whatever, so that we can make sure that this, pays off for you, instead of just, okay, we're going to give you ad space, good luck.
Right. Yeah, I think that's going to be such a much easier sell.
Yep.
Because that risk factor is huge. Like, that's like the biggest thing with any advertising purchase, is like, you're pretty sure, like, there's at least a 50-50 chance that you're just completely flushing your money down the toilet. So
yep,
if you
exactly.
can tip the scales in the other direction, that helps a lot. One thing to check would be, as you start to knock these out and actually succeed with these, make sure to get video testimonials from the sponsors. Yeah. So like, I got a video testimonial from Parker after we did our affiliate thing with him. And it was great, because he drew, he wanted to share some results, but he didn't want to give away numbers. So what he did was he did this great little hand-drawn graph, and he's like, here's our normal sales, and then, like, it shoots up, to the top of the paper, and he's like, this is what happened, and then he shows it. Yeah, so definitely, those videos are, I've been collecting them. They're priceless.
Yep. Yeah. So Interview Cake, I got Kendo UI to sponsor, and it was interesting talking to them, because, well, and it makes the sponsorship kind of interesting too. So they just released a new version of Kendo UI.
Okay.
And the big feature in this new version of Kendo UI is React components.
Oh, nice.
And so obviously they're looking to reach React people. And so I was like, well, I don't have a React podcast right now, but I am organizing one. I've been talking to people. I currently have 4 firm commits for panelists. So that's enough to get the ball rolling. So after NG Atlanta and Developer Week, I'm planning on kicking that off. So I essentially said, hey, why don't you sponsor 6 weeks of JavaScript Jabber, and then you can roll over and sponsor, 6 weeks of the React podcast. So I've currently sold 6 sponsorship of podcast episodes of a podcast I don't actually have yet.
Nice.
Hey,
But
you can just start selling podcasts you don't have. If you
Yeah.
podcast. You can be like one of those marketing guys that sells features that don't exist yet in the product.
There we go. Absolutely. So we're getting that ball rolling. Eric from one of the other Entre Programmers groups, I invited him to be on the View podcast we're pulling together. So I have 3 firm commits for panelists there. So that'll probably get started around the same time. And so now I just need to pull things together for the Elixir podcast, which honestly, there are so many Rubyists that went over to Elixir that filling that panel is going to be drop dead easy. And I may be able to get some of the panelists from Ruby Rogues to come over, which also makes it easy because they're kind of in the routine of doing the shows. So
yeah, those are the Rubyists who went to Node, who went to Elixir, right?
Or some of them just went straight to Elixir. But
every 2 years you have to jump frameworks.
We just call them the cool kids.
Yeah.
They're just the cool kid. The permanent cool kid.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's all going well. And yeah, I'm just working the system at this point. But I figured out, because I was working the system in October, November, trying to sell sponsorships, and I was sending them to Podwrench, to the order form, and I didn't have anybody sign up that way. And I think I need better information there, so I need some numbers and some examples and things like that. That's the feedback I'm getting. But in the meantime, I still need to sell sponsorships to pay the bills. And so I just went back to, okay, let's do a call. Let's talk about what you need. I'll send you an invoice.
Right.
And if I can get that proposal piece into Podwrench, I think I'm going to have a lot more success continuing to do the calls. Yeah. And that's fine. If I wind up doing sales calls for a few hours every week, that's worth it to me.
It's $1,000 an hour work. So,
well, yeah. I mean, given the amount of time that I've spent lining up these calls, and then the amount of time I spent on the phone with each of these companies, it's closer to $3,000 an hour work.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Well, it's well worth it.
It also doesn't mean that you can't use Podwrench to lessen the lead time, right? Or the sales cycle time, right? So you can do that, right? And even if it still has to be high touch, then you also don't have to do it at some point, right? Like you can now, like, if you figure out, okay, it does have to be high touch to close, like, you know what I mean? Like, enterprise sales are never going to be non-high touch, right? Like, but if you've made the cycle time smaller and you've systemized the high touch part of it so that you've got a slide deck, a presentation, right? A process that you go through, jump on a deal, right? You've got someone in training. They're just silent on the phone, right? They're listening to how you do it, right? That's how you train them. Just like you would train a salesperson. And then you can just have them close the deals, right? At some point. Yeah. So it's not like you can't, quote, automate it. You can. It's just that you're figuring out what part of it, how it's going to be automated. Is it going to be completely something that you can do without high touch, or is there still going to be a high touch component that you can now systemize and then have someone do?
Well, and that's something that I'm definitely looking at, because more and more, if I can get to the point where I don't have to be the bottleneck, right? Let's say that we get to 20 or 30 or 40 podcasts. And so now I'm instead of doing 3, 4, 5 calls a week, I'm doing 10, 20, 30 calls a week for sales. That's just not sustainable for me, right? I want to be driving the business forward. I don't want to be doing sales calls all day long. I like talking to these folks, and it's nice right now having the relationships with them. But at some point it becomes unsustainable. And I wouldn't be the first company by any stretch of the imagination that had an inside sales team or an inside salesperson, right?
No.
So it's not unheard of, right?
CEO
I've never heard of this
closes
before.
Every deal.
Yeah.
But right now where I'm at, I'm the one both with the relationships with these folks and with the credibility to just run it. But I think also once I have a track record with these folks, and Podwrench is really doing its job, and right now it manages the sponsorship ads like a champ. I love it. But so the rest of the process is pretty much seamless. Yeah, there's no reason why somebody else couldn't get in and make those calls.
Right. Yeah, and you can build, with the feedback you're getting, you can build more and more pieces of it into, like, more and more information into that form, so that it can be a tool for, it can be kind of a crutch for the person, for your salesperson too. Like, they're pretty much they're just working through that form, and they've got everything they could possibly need right there.
Yeah. Well, the other thing, but the other thing is I can put, so a lot of the questions that they have, I can put that information onto the FeedWrench page.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
So then, because a lot of it was, well, what are these numbers? What are those numbers? What are these other numbers? Right.
Right.
And so I can just, I want to build that in anyway, because I want to build reports for the sponsors that say, hey, you got so many, downloads of the episode you were in. And, as far as we can tell, 90% of them listened all the way to the end. So, anyway. But yeah, so if I can put all that information on the page, then when they get asked for numbers, it's like, okay, well, here's where I'm looking, at these numbers, and I'm just going to read them off. You don't have to browse to it if you don't want, but if you do want,
right.
And that way they can kind of keep tabs on, oh, okay, so what's the story with these numbers.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway, it's been really kind of fun to just get back in and get these going. And I have a feeling too, there's like a cycle to the year on the sales. And right now, for whatever reason, is a terrific time to be selling. It seems to peak, between now and about mid-February is a really good time to sell. And then for whatever reason, like April is a really good time to sell.
You know what? It might have to do with fiscal year timing. Like, I know some places I've worked, our fiscal year started June 1, and some places it started January 1. So maybe that has something to do with it. Like, they have money. They either just got a bunch of money, or they have money they're trying to spend. That would actually be interesting to find. You should probably try to find that out.
Yeah.
Try to figure out why that, because that could be
yeah.
You might
Selling
be able to
over
get
the
more
holidays was a pain. That was awful.
Yeah.
I didn't put too much effort into it, but yeah, I couldn't get anybody to respond unless it was, hey, come to our booth at CES. Those people responded. But yeah, I hear you there on the fiscal year thing. One thing that I found though is like a lot of the companies I've talked to, July 1 is their fiscal year. But selling in June was just like pulling teeth. The responses I kept getting from a lot of those companies was, fiscal year starts July 1. I'll know what my budget is then.
Yeah. So they might be in a budget freeze too.
Yeah.
Like,
and I got some traction in July. It seemed like August things started to pick back up. So August, September was another good time to be selling. October wasn't terribly hard. But once we started getting close to the holidays, so kind of early November through the end of the year, it was almost not worth trying. But yeah, so we lined up Progress, Kendo UI, we lined up Interview Cake, and then we also lined up Microsoft. So that's the third company I landed, and I'm actually going through the process right now of becoming a official vendor, whatever the term is. And I guess that's going to take about a week. So I still get paid, because I was like, I usually require prepayment. And he's like, oh, that won't be a problem, because the process will take basically this week, and their ads don't start till February. So
okay.
So we'll be okay. They'll pay me before then. And
nice.
Yeah.
That only took a year and a half, right?
Well, they've sponsored bonus episodes for JavaScript Jabber.
Okay.
So I make them pay a few $1,000s, and then we do an episode and release it kind of out of band on.
Oh, okay.
And that's worked, and that's been nice. But they actually want ads in iPhreaks.
Okay.
because what happened is they combined most of their products for people who do mobile development.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all the mobile testing and building and deployment and code push and all that stuff. They put it all into one system, Visual Studio Mobile Center or something like that.
Okay. So is that the old Xamarin? Did they roll that into that?
There were some bits of Xamarin that were kind of SaaS parts of the Xamarin stack.
Oh, yeah.
Into it. And then Hockey App was a big part of that. Yep. I don't know if you're familiar with them.
Yep. That's what we use that for our deployment for Trackabout.
Yep. So Hockey App and, just some of the other process bits and pieces. Code Push is another one, which pushes up static assets to your apps.
Okay.
So that's how you cheat if you have a React Native app and you don't want to go through the process of getting approved. You can just use Code Push. You can push up new JavaScript because it's a static asset. But of course, as soon as people download your app, then it's going to say, "Oh, hang on, I'm updating all of your, I'm updating your app, right?"
Right.
But yeah,
nice.
Apple allows you to update those out of band.
Oh, that's
kind of fun. So anyway, so we're working on that and making sure that pays off. And I'm still working them to try and get them to sponsor React Native Radio, because React Native Radio is also mobile and it has twice the audience that iPhreaks does.
I'd be very curious to look at that again, because with React Native, and just see how that looks for iOS and Android development now, because that wasn't around when basically Xamarin was the only real choice at the time.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where it goes.
Yeah, I actually got to take a decent look at it because I wrote a foreword for a book on React Native.
Oh, okay.
So it's nice. I kind of have to know what this. So I spent about half a day, going through, and it's actually pretty cool. After I was like, wow, I would definitely use this. This would be the framework I would use today, just because of how slick it worked. So
nice. So and that's cross-platform, and you're using native widgets, right?
So yeah, your Vue stuff is all native,
and
then all the processing on the back end and all of the animation and movement and all that stuff is handled by
JavaScript, right? So
goes over the JavaScript bridge, JavaScript core, or to V8 if you're on Android, and it does all the stuff there.
Interesting.
But yeah, cool tech. So we'll see how that all goes. And and then like I said, I'm getting ready to launch these new podcasts. So, and I'm documenting the process as I start the new podcast, so that that all gets done, so that the next podcast I start, I can just go to my team and say, okay, we're doing it. We're starting another podcast. I need somebody to work the process.
Awesome. When was your target launch date for those?
Sometime in February. And so, I'm reaching out to the panels now and basically saying, look, I'm going to be gone for 2 weeks, the last week of January and the first week of February. So basically the week of February 11th is when I want to start recording those 2 shows. So just getting the calendar together and stuff like that. And initially I'm just going to host them and run them so that I can document that part of it too, as far as just, getting the wheels turning for it. And then from there, we'll see how things go for the rest of that.
Nice. Yeah, you could put together a facilitator or a host handbook kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, one thing that I've thought about with that is once I get all the processes together for how we do the podcasts, I'm actually thinking about essentially making that into a handbook and seeing if people want to pay to get access to it.
Mm-hmm.
And just let people know initially, hey, look, this is really raw. It's just, it's just a walkthrough step by step on how we do stuff. And if you find it valuable, you pay a monthly fee to have access. And that way, if we update the way we do things, then you get an update.
Mm-hmm.
And then, just kind of go from there. And then if people want something a little bit more polished, then I can refine it to a course.
Nice. I like it.
Yeah. One thing that I am kind of struggling with, I didn't mean to monopolize the whole first half of the show, but anyway, one thing that I'm going back and forth on, I think I've made a decision on this, but then I start thinking about it and I'm like, well, do I really need to do this? So, I have Michelle sending out invitations to people to come on the shows and things like that. Mm-hmm. And she's been doing it from her own email address that I've set up on devchat.tv. And I keep thinking that instead of doing that, what I want basically team@devchat.tv, and then just give her and Dee and anyone else who needs access to, essentially reach out to people on behalf of devchat.tv, access to that email address. And then, that way when they have to reach out, then they can do that. But if there's any continuity issue, so, somebody gets pregnant or somebody gets hit by a bus or, anything like that, then somebody else can just pick up the slack and they don't have to go and figure out what emails went out from who, for when, for whatever.
So there's a couple of tools I think that you can use to make it like a multi-inbox. I mean, you could even use something in the vein of Help Scout so that the emails can still come from the personal email addresses or the business email addresses of the individual people, but they're followed up by anyone else.
Huh.
That might be a good way to do it, because then, because it's kind of weird, like, to have multiple, like, to log into the multiple email addresses for the different tasks that you do as an employee, I think. But yeah, I think you're more likely to have things get missed that way if there's multiple inboxes involved.
Mm-hmm.
We've decided that we're just going to basically run everything, for at least for the time being, through John at simpleprogrammer.com. And Rodrigo and I are both, we're both in that. So I'm actually really happy with, we've got a system down now. It seems like it's working pretty well, because I wanted to be able to get in there and like John's, correct me if I'm wrong, John, but I think your approach with Rodrigo was like, I don't want to touch any of this as much as possible. Right? Like, you wanted it to be as hands-off as possible.
Sorry, I missed it.
Oh, okay. With Rodrigo, when you were processing the email, like, you wanted to just be as hands-off as possible, right?
Yeah. I was basically like, I basically had him be first pass, and then every day I would look and see if there's anything starred, and then I'd get to start emails. The only problem with that was that sometimes there was like a 2 or 3 day lag, because I basically wouldn't touch anything until he had started.
Yeah. So what I'm doing is Rodrigo he's 3 hours ahead of me. So he gets up in the morning, he processes everything that came in overnight and stars the stuff for me to look at. And then I go in the afternoon and I process it again while I'm replying to the starred stuff that I got. And then I'll star stuff for him to deal with. So we've got two different set of tasks, basically. Mm-hmm. And then, his and mine, and then either of us can process stuff into those queues, and it's working. It seems to be working really well. So
that's a good idea. Yeah, I like that. That's smart.
Yeah, because it was confusing. Like, when I went in there, I was like, okay, what is he already? Well, and then, like, anything he replies to right now, I'm just having him. I have a third star that's like a blue eye. It's the info. Like, you can go into Gmail and enable multiple stars. So green star is Rodrigo, yellow star is me, and then blue eye is just info for me. So anything he replies to, he sticks a blue star on it so I can see what he's doing. And then if there's like a comment or something that came in that he thinks is interesting, he'll star that with a blue eye, and then I'll look at all that stuff. So that way I've got like stuff to read, stuff to do, and then stuff for Rodrigo. And it seems like it's working pretty smoothly so far.
Right. So are you just doing that in Gmail then?
Yeah, we're just doing it straight in John at Simple Programmer. That would be kind of weird for you because you've got assistants, so you're going to have like turnover potentially there. I like John's idea of trying to find a tool though that could give you like a ticketing system.
So I've thought about that. I like the idea of doing a help desk. I haven't found a help desk I really love. I've also I tried out an app called Missive, and basically it's just an email system, and you can actually like have a discussion about the email on the side.
Oh, yeah.
And then it just, everything's in the, in a shared inbox. I think we'd have to come up with a system around how that works so that, if she assigns something to me, she has a way of notifying me, or I don't know. So the stars thing kind of would work there. I also, though, kind of like the idea of putting it into like a Help Scout or something like that. I haven't tried Help Scout. But yeah, just having some kind of ticketing system, and then it's just like, hey, look, can you just manage everything in the ticketing system? One thing that I'm struggling with a little bit, though, is that right now she actually manages everything through Pipedrive as far as inviting people to the shows. And I'd like to move all the sponsorship outreach stuff over to Pipedrive and have it go out through team at devchat.tv, just so that there's some continuity there as well. So that if I do hand it off, it doesn't have to come from Chuck at devchat.tv, because people generally aren't even looking at the like the email line or anything like that. So I think there may be ways to work around that. So then it's just a matter of just making it work. I'm probably going to ask a few other friends that actually have teams that work through different things. So I know Jamie has a team that they all send emails out from contact at eventualmillionaire.com. So I may just ask her if she coordinates that. But anyway, it just seems like that would be a good way to go, because then if somebody has to pick up the slack for somebody else for whatever reason, that we can do that without trying to. I mean, I can get into their accounts because I have the Google, the admin on Google Apps, but I don't want to have to do that if I don't have to, and then try and sort through what they're doing there. So anyway, stuff to think about. If anyone else out there that listens to this show has any feedback on what you're using, I'd love to hear it.
Just email the feedback at.
Just email me, Chuck at devchat.tv. But yeah, so I think I am going to move everything over to just the one email address. The other thing is that I can also then get away with, I can set up aliases. So if we have like different social media accounts or the different podcasts and things, I can put that all under the one email address. And stuff like that. So anyway, yeah, that's my thinking. But then the other thing is I could move Pipedrive completely under the team email address. So anyway, so that's kind of been my week, just working through that. And then I'm also just, like I said, documenting processes for this stuff, especially starting new podcasts. So.
Documentation is fun, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I love it, and by love it I mean, yeah. Generally, what I'm doing right now is I'm just recording videos, and then I'm probably going to go back and make Michelle or somebody just write up the step by steps, and then I can just check their work.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah, I should probably have Rodrigo write up the email processing guidelines too. I've been doing videos, so like I'll just do a video every couple of days. I'll just go in and process a bunch of emails and do a video, because he got it mostly right the first. I kind of explained. I did this long video where I thought out loud and figured out the whole system like kind of on the fly, and then I was hopeful that it was clear by the time I got to the end, and it was mostly clear. But I had to do I'm just doing follow-up videos now where I just go in and like process everything real quick and send it to him. So.
Yeah.
So I had a pretty good week. So my big news is I'm debt free.
Yay!
I paid off my mortgage.
No way.
Yep.
That's
so
awesome.
We are. Well, I'm hopeful that I paid off my mortgage. I sent in a big whack of money to Chase, and and I haven't gotten any real. Well, I got an email saying that they got the money, but I haven't. Like it's happening slowly. Like nothing. The money was showing on the account, but my full balance was still there, my mortgage balance, and I was like, that's a little troubling. But now my mortgage has disappeared from my Chase account, so I'm hoping in the process of closing it all down. But yeah, so I'm trying to figure out, like, so when you pay off your mortgage, you have to like go and figure out how to get your taxes actually sent to you, because that was all escrow taxes and insurance. So I have to figure out how the freak to pay those. But yeah, I'm excited. This has been a long time goal. So we did it in 11 years.
Oh, nice.
Did you get a payoff statement?
Not yet.
When you did it? No. I mean, when you went to pay it off, did you call them up and say, I want a payoff statement, I want to pay off my mortgage? Or did you just like make an extra payment for the amount that you thought it was?
So what I did was they have a way to calculate what your payoff balance is, and I got an actual payoff amount. So I'm not sure. I did not call them. I know now that I should have done that. Yeah. So who knows? That's why I was saying, like, it'll work itself out eventually, but I did it wrong. So yeah,
I've done it both ways. I've called them, like, and they're like, oh, you have to fax for an official payoff statement, or like, we have to have this in writing that you want a payoff statement, or like, it'll take us 2 business days to process it, and you need to wire these funds to this address. It's good for 1 day. And that's the general way you do it, and I've paid off some that way. But then sometimes when they've given me that crap, I'm like, you know what? Just tell me what the amount is. I'm going to send that amount. Like, you have to wire. Like, no, I'm just gonna fucking send the amount. Like, what are you gonna do? Like,
we will
I'll
not
send you
take
500 extra.
Yeah, we'll not take your money. Yeah. I think I probably will get a little bit of money back, actually, because they made me just like they were already showing my February payment for so like they made me pay that, and then I could pay the additional on top of that. So so I might get some money back, and then I'll probably get the escrow back and stuff. So
exactly, you'll get the escrow.
Yeah.
So that's cool though.
Yeah. Yep. So we're free and clear. So it is possible, people. You can do it. It's worth it. So yeah, it's great because now, like, we calculated our emergency fund number, like, because we paid that off, and then then we also did the Medi-Share thing this year. So instead of paying $900 to $1,500 a month, I'm only paying $200. So between those two things, like our actual monthly like burn rate, if we had no income, is about $2,000. Nice. So we'd have to take the kids out of private school, but otherwise, like, we could live on like $2,000 a month now. So that's pretty, and that's actually with like kind of spending kind of a lot of money on food. Like I tend to buy like a lot of organic stuff and high quality meats and stuff. So that's we could definitely cut there.
One thing that
I'm move everyone to 1 meal a day.
Yeah, there you go. Everyone is 600 calories across the board.
It's kind of nice. It's kind of nice to know that if the shit hits the fan, you could just get a job at Burger King. Right?
Yeah.
And, support.
Yep.
There you go. Which Medi-Share did you sign up for? Because I know there are a couple of them out there.
We did Christian Care Medi-Share.
Okay.
So
I need to. I'm shopping around. Funny enough, some of the Medi-Shares won't admit Mormons.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is really funny to me because, they're like, well, what we really care about is that you live according to these moral principles.
I know. Mormons
don't drink. You don't smoke. Mormons don't smoke. You don't fool around. Mormons don't do that either.
Yeah, I would say on balance, most Mormons are probably more, better off on that stuff than most like Protestants would be. So
yeah, we're a pretty safe bet as far as not doing the dumb crap.
Yeah,
I'll have to check it out. I'm kind of fiddling with the ideas there, but also since they removed the individual mandate, in other words, I don't get what did they call it? A tax? Because it's a fine, but it's not a fine; it's a tax.
Right? Yeah, the penalty. I think they called it a penalty.
Yeah. Anyway, So now that I don't have to pay a penalty, I'm also looking at some of the other options out there.
Well, Medi-Share, we were exempt from the penalty. They had an exemption built in for that.
Yeah, they had that figured out, but now that the penalty's a non-issue unless they put it back, I'm kind of toying with the idea of shopping around other sort of non-Obamacare plans just to see what else is out there. But
yeah, well, yeah. So I'm hoping that maybe within a year or two, maybe like real high deductible plans will come back, and I probably would prefer to do that because the Medi-Share stuff seems like it's pretty reputable. I mean, some of these have been around for 20 or 30 years, and they pay out like Christian Care Medi-Share pays out like over $100 million a year. Or it might be more like 200 million. It's a lot. Like, it's a lot of money that goes through it, and I know a lot of people that have done it, and it seems like, but there's no legal, like you don't have a lot of legal protection. But on the other hand, like insurance companies are legally required to pay, but they're also kind of looking for ways not to pay. And I think this is kind of the other way. So I don't know. But if we have the option to get a high deductible plan again, I probably will do that. So, but it's been funny because like we've been doing it for the last couple months, and we had one of our kids like slammed his face into the wall, and we thought he might need stitches in his lip, and so we took him to there's like a little emergency clinic type place. I literally, like, I could almost throw a rock and hit it. It's like right outside. Oh, my camera just went crazy.
Auto zoom.
Blurry. Yeah. So we've been like finding all these like kind of like all these other ways to get care that are like actually better, versus going to the emergency room where you sit for 3 hours. Like, my wife walked into this place. It was like a fully staffed emergency room and everything. And she was able to see somebody right away. And it was like so much better. And it was like $30 instead of several $100s for an emergency room visit.
Yeah.
So, but so that was very exciting this week. And then this week has been pretty much just like working with John to get everything transitioned over to me, figuring out what my focus needs to be. So I've decided, so we don't have, so John, maybe John can talk about this, but I'm not going to have the YouTube channel for much longer. Like, that's going to be kind of breaking off. So I need a traffic strategy. And so really the blog is really my only option as far as traffic and growing the audience. So I met with Elisa this week, our content editor, and we're talking about how we can get the writers. Because right now, like the feeling, I think what tends to happen with the writers is they'll write a couple articles for us and they're not seeing a whole lot of benefit from it. And so they stop. And then so Elisa's like always in this training mode where she's always trying to get people in, and then she works with them, and then she teaches them basically how to blog, and then they go off and write blog posts on their own blog, which is great. But I'm trying to figure out some ways that we can keep them and make sure that they're getting enough benefit that they're going to keep writing. And so one of the I brainstormed a whole bunch of ideas this morning about it, and one of the things that I came up with was to try to make it more of like a co-opetition type of environment where we have like, it's like try to make the writers feel like they're part of a team, but then also try to inspire some rivalry. And so I figured like we could create a leaderboard. We might even be able to do some prizes. Like, I don't want to pay. I want to pay for some writing, but generally I don't want to pay writers, because what tends to happen, like I saw this at SitePoint. SitePoint would pay really well for writing. Like, you could get like $250 per article. And so what we got was just a whole bunch of, I was the editor, and we got like just these pretty, like, they weren't spammy, but they were kind of borderline spammy submissions that was like, it was a bunch of like I had 3 or 4 regular writers who were like professional freelancers, and they had a little bit of programming experience, a little bit of online business experience. And so it was all like 7 best e-commerce shopping platform type articles. and there wasn't really a whole lot of meat there. And they were just trying to write them as fast as they possibly could, so that they could do more submissions. So I don't really want to pay. I don't want to pay for that kind of writing. I'm willing to pay some for, like, I'd like to have a couple of paid staff writers who do really, really in-depth, who might spend like 30 hours on doing some massive posts for us. That's going to be like a pillar of the site. Like, that's worth paying for, but not just to fill the regular kind of, like, keep the content flowing. But what we could do would be to have like prizes. So like, I was thinking, like, I might do a leaderboard where I find, like, what are the top 1, 2, 3 blog posts on the site that were written by people other than John. And then, like, have a prize for, if you can take this out, if you can get get a blog post published that gets more traffic than this, you get a prize, and make it like enough that it's like motivational, that people are actually going to be gunning for that kind of. So it's like that's like the classic beat the control tactic from the copywriting world. And it works really well, because you'll get, I mean, some of these magazines would get like top shelf copywriters that would write for free, basically just trying to knock out the control to get the royalties. So I'm thinking about stuff like that, like some things that we could do. I set up this morning, I actually set up in Google Analytics a report that will show us who all the freelance, like by name, who all the writers are and how many views they're getting. So we can have have a leaderboard. I think I'm going to try to get Elisa to do a weekly newsletter for the writers, so they can see, like, okay, every week, here's the top 10 writers. Here are the page views they got. So we're basically like, I'm looking for ways to sell writing for Simple Programmer to the writers, because what happens is you write a post and then you publish it and then nothing happens. And you think that you didn't get any benefit out of that. But meanwhile, maybe we've tweeted it out. We've sent it out in the newsletter with your name attached to it. And then it's been seen by 10,000 people. And just because you didn't get any clicks to your website doesn't mean there's no benefit from all that.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So I want to try to make surface all of that so that they can see it. Go ahead. Was that John? Were you saying something?
No, it's exactly that's right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, and then I want to also try to give them just more visibility into like which content on the site is doing well, so that they have like a feedback loop and they can see, okay, we published this, and this one here got 10,000 views. This one here got 1,000. What did they do right, in this one that this other one didn't do? So just kind of like more information about the results they're generating, and then more visibility about the benefits that they're getting, to try to get try to make it easier for her to retain people. And we can also, I think if we do that, we'll also be able to attract more people, because like if I have a guy who was trying to hire me for coaching, which I said no, because I just don't have the bandwidth. But he's writing to get coaching students. Well, good grief. Like, I mean, Simple Programmer is a fantastic vehicle for that. If your goal is to get coaching students, like, you should totally be writing for us.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So we just have to, but they just have to be able to see, see all the publicity and how their name's getting out there from what they're doing.
Yep. I really like the idea of incentivizing them based on traffic, because, I mean, ultimately that's what matters to you, right?
Right. Yeah.
Now, I wonder a little bit too. I like the idea of starting out with sort of the bounty, but I wonder too, for people who are kind of hitting their stride and figuring out what's going to work for Simple Programmer, I wonder too if you want to just set up some kind of lower tier, right? So is there some level they can hit where they'll get a $5 or $10 or $20 gift card to Amazon or something? And it's just like, so then it's, you know what? I wrote this blog article and 2 weeks later I got $5 on Amazon because awesome.
Right. Yeah, I like that. That would be so like, yeah, we could almost have like yeah, we could almost just have like rewards for specific result levels of results. So like if you write a post that gets 10,000, you know, views in a certain amount of time, we do X.
Yep.
And then some of it could be monetary, some of it could be non-monetary.
Yep. But then the other thing I see is, yeah, you know, then you say, look, if you're one of the, you know, top 3 posts that get so much traffic within the first 30 days, you know, that are published in March, then you get this big prize in April or something. And so then you can kind of make it a competition as well. So you hit this bar, so you get the $20 gift certificate or $100 gift certificate or whatever, you know, whatever it's worth to you. And then if you're one of those, you know, if you're one of the heavy hitters for March, you know, even if you release it on March 31st, we'll just reckon it for 30 days. And so, you know, April 30th will pay out.
Yeah. Yeah. What got me thinking along these lines was I may have said this last week, I don't remember, but when I was doing copywriting, I worked with this guy who had he worked with dentists. And one of the things he taught dentists was that you as the dentist, as the practice owner, and your staff have completely different objectives. Their objective is to get as much money from you with as little work as possible. And your objective is to get as much work as possible with as little money. And they don't share, like if the practice does well, they don't share in that. You get all that upside. They don't get any of it. Right. So he would teach them how to like share the upside a little bit. And so it gets everybody pulling in the same direction. So your incentives are all aligned. So I'm trying to think about the same thing with the writers. So like what I want is traffic. What they want is to get something published with as little work as possible.
Right.
So I need to get them to care about traffic. And that would, like, if we do that, then they'll automatically, like, I don't have to nag them to share it when they publish an article. Like, they're going to do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It just like all kinds of other, you know, all the other benefits will fall into line. So.
Yep.
In Hacker News traffic, then yeah, that'd be good.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah, that's one thing I've noticed with it. Doesn't seem like when John's not writing, I haven't seen like the big Reddit hits and the big D-Zone hits. Like those really seem to be. We've only seemed to have gotten those from John, so I need to help. And the other thing I'm going to do is, I'm working on putting together a lot more guidance on topics like that, things that people, I think if we have a nice healthy topic list, it's going to be a lot easier for people to jump in and write stuff. So.
Yep.
But yeah, I had fun setting up the Google Analytics thing. So got to play with, I've never done custom dimensions before in Google Analytics. So it's pretty crazy how you have to, like the workarounds you have to do to get stuff in, but it all works out in the end.
Yep.
So that was fun. I'm trying to think. Oh, so John, this was interesting. So we're doing an experiment right now where we had the career guide, the book, in the Kindle Unlimited program, which is basically it's a devil's pact with Amazon, where you say, I will only publish my Kindle with you. You can have my firstborn child. And then in exchange, you will give me more money and more promotion. And so we were in Kindle Unlimited for the launch, and Kindle Unlimited allows people to read the book for free if they're subscribed. So it's kind of like Netflix for books. And so we were kind of curious. I knew that Kindle Unlimited would factor in our rankings, like all the free reads that we were getting. I knew that Amazon was calculating those in the rankings somehow. So we were curious, like, if we pull out of Kindle Unlimited, we thought we might get some more sales at full price, but then we wouldn't be getting the money from Amazon for those free reads. So we were like trying to figure out what would happen. So we just pulled out of the program completely, and the book has dropped like a rock. It's been hard. It's been very hard to watch. So we were ranked around 3,500 overall on all Kindle, And when we pulled out of Kindle Unlimited, we've dropped so far. Today, this morning, we were at 15,000. And
oh wow.
And so instead of making more sales, we're making fewer sales because we're not ranked as high and not as many people are seeing us. So yeah, so that's just it's been kind of gut-wrenching to watch that drop like that. But so we were trying to decide if it would be worthwhile if we could make up the lost revenue by going to like Apple, like iBooks and Barnes and Noble and all the other stores that are out there. So John, I emailed David, our agent, and asked him about that. And he said, yeah, Amazon's basically going to be 90% of the revenue. So I don't think it's very likely that we're going to be able to make up anywhere near, because we've lost probably about half the revenue at this point, because the print book sales are down, the Kindle sales are down. Our revenue probably, and then we're not getting the free reads, so our revenue is probably down at least 50% right now.
Right.
So
wow.
Yeah, so he doesn't think we're gonna. He said, yeah, it's usually at least 90% and sometimes more, even if you're in those other marketplaces. And he also said that Amazon is currently. He said it's pretty interesting that Amazon is like really. They're actually putting their own money into the Kindle Unlimited program. So.
Oh, I see.
I didn't realize. I didn't think about that. Yeah, so we're actually getting more money. They're subsidizing it right now. And they're also like the books that participate are getting favorable treatment. So it's like you get more money for, at least for now, you're getting more money and you're getting preferential treatment from Amazon versus when you're not in it, then you're kind of on your own. So if you look at the top sellers, it's really heavily skewed towards Kindle Unlimited.
Yeah.
So
that's funny. Interesting.
So I think for right now, it's probably makes sense to just go ahead and re-enroll.
Yeah. It probably makes sense to re-enroll and then do some kind of really big push on the book.
Yeah.
In order to bump the rankings up again. Like, either advertising or email, probably a combination of email list and advertising or something. And
yeah, I could always just do a 99-cent promo or drop it down to $2.99 or whatever. I actually wrote an email. I wrote an email this morning about the book. Maybe I'll do this next week, because I wrote an email this morning about the book, because I did a survey and asked people if they had bought the book, and if not, why not. And one guy wrote back, and it was really funny. He said, well, my income is too low, so I didn't buy the book. And so recently my manager demoted me from developer to support. And so now, so I wrote it. The email was just like, guys, come on. Like, oh my gosh, like this is ridiculous. Like you didn't buy the book that would have helped you not piss off your manager. So you saved $5 and now you're making even less money. Like, oh my gosh. So that email would be good. I could just update it to say, hey, you know what? I'm throwing you a bone. I'm making the price $2.99 for a couple of days. Go buy it now.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yep.
Yeah,
that'll get, because once it boosts back up there, then it'll be fine. It'll also be interesting, like if once you get a hold of the Amazon advertising, that can move it. So
So it's been an interesting week. I've also been I've been messing around with SEO. So basically I've decided that for the next like 3 to 6 months, I just really have to roll up my sleeves and get good at SEO. Like I can't outsource this effectively until I really understand it myself.
Right.
So I just need to understand the whole thing. And so I went into Google Analytics and I pulled out about 70 different keywords where we are getting thousands of page impressions, but not getting very many click-throughs because our ranking is low. So One of the top ones is Code Review, which gets searched like 18,000 times a month. We're getting 18,000 impressions a month, and we are only getting like a handful of clicks out of that. So if I can get us into that top 10, then that'll be pretty huge. Like we could actually get several thousand page views a month out of that. So I'm going through. What's that?
Okay. I was gonna say it's probably worth it to hire a consultant to train you, like to give you some, like contact Glenn Assop or someone and just like pay for their their training for a couple of hours, and that'll probably accelerate your learning curve super fast. You use the modeling technique.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I'm gonna do that. Making a note about that actually. Somebody else talk.
It's interesting that one. Well, I'll tell you what I did yesterday. I changed the YouTube name. I haven't done any of the rebranding and stuff, but I changed it to John Sonmez instead of Simple Programmer. So kind of setting the tone for it. So it'll be interesting to see what how this works out.
Yeah. I'm a little nervous about it.
Yeah, I mean, we're not changing any of the stuff yet on the descriptions or anything. So
I'm just waiting for the questions to start pouring into the inbox.
Yeah. Well.
Oh yeah. Well, I think we've kind of figured out that there's a separate audience for YouTube versus the email list.
That's true.
There's some overlap, of course, but it seems like they're definitely separate audiences.
Oh yeah. So the other thing I did yesterday was I implemented. I set up the push notifications, John, on the site.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. So John was in San Diego. Well, John lives in San Diego. John was at a some kind of get together with Pat Flynn and company, and they were going on and on about how awesome push notifications are. So this is when you visit a website and it pops up that annoying little question, hey, would you like to get notifications, block or allow? Well, that's us now too. So.
Yeah, I've been wanting to set that up for a while. I actually signed up for an account on one of the services that does it. I just never got around to it.
So it's really easy to do. So I've got it set up on OneSignal.
I think that's who I signed up with.
Yeah, they seem to be like, I looked at the plugin installs. One little trick is if you want to know who the market leader is in something, you just type in like, push notifications in the WordPress plugins thing. And it was like 100,000. No, I think it was like 300,000 plus installs on OneSignal. And then everything else was like, 1,000. So they seemed like far. And every post seemed like they were like one of the ones that got recommended. So yeah, so I set it up yesterday. Go ahead.
Okay. I was going to say there's one thing to be cautious about with the push notifications.
Yeah.
Which is that it's like, you don't want to you can just do push notifications. So every blog post that comes out sends a push notification. That's kind of the low tech way to do it. But there's services that allow you to send messages, right? To treat it like email.
Yeah.
Where you can, because then you don't send it for every blog post. You send it for like, this is a sale, or this is a popular blog post, right? And then it becomes, the signal to noise ratio is less.
Yeah. Okay. So, I'm going, yeah, exactly. That's how I'm going to use it. So for right now though, I was just waiting to see what kind of, the two things I want to make sure that that it doesn't hurt the opt-in rate on the email list.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm going to keep an eye on that. But I set this up yesterday afternoon, and right now I only have it running for Chrome, because if you do Safari, oh gosh, it's as much of a pain as Apple. You have to do security, like signing certificate stuff to get it working with Safari. So, but I just set it up yesterday at, it's been up for now about 21 hours, I would say. And we have 167 people signed up.
Oh, wow. That's good.
So that's like effectively doubling. I mean, like if that doesn't hurt the email list rate, that's like effectively doubling the audience growth of people that I can easily reach.
Yep.
Nice.
And you can pitch them to join the email list too. Like,
exactly.
I mean, that's option too,
yep.
So
I think what I might do actually would be to test this out. I can test this out next week, John. But OneSignal lets you send out scheduled notifications. So when I re-enroll into Kindle Unlimited and drop the price to $2.99, I'll send a push notification too.
Yeah,
exactly.
On top of the email. So, but yeah, I'm not planning to do the blog post notifications. I don't think.
Yeah, I think it's too much. Yeah, yep. Just maybe like if one's popular, or like the weekly, like something like the roundup or something like that could work. But yeah, every single one would be annoying. Then people are just able to push notifications.
Yep. So yeah, so it seems like we're gonna get like around 100, maybe 100 to 200 signups a day on that. Probably close to 200 a day. And I figure probably the majority of those people are Chuck disappeared.
Oh, so, I lost you for a minute. Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, there we go. Everybody's back. So yeah, so anyway, so that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, and the thing about it too is, if you think about it, right, the email opt-in rate is about like 4%, maybe 5% site-wide. So if you got another like 3 to 4% of the notification opt-in rate, they're probably not going to be an overlapping. So
yeah, exactly.
You're just increasing the reach. And those are people that, like, 96% of people that visit the site, you never see them again.
Yep.
If you capture another 3 or 4%, like, there's nothing to lose doing that.
No. Yeah, I would guess there's probably a 1 to 2% overlap. Like, I would say, like, of the 4% who opt in for this, probably a quarter of them might be on the email, just because they're going to be so like hyper responders will just sign up for everything. So
yeah.
One thing that I'm wondering, because I now that we're talking about this, it sounds like something that I ought to do. And if there's any way to automate it so that like RSS feeds, push notifications. Is there any way to segment it so that people could get notifications just for Ruby Rogues or just for Jabber?
So that's a good question. In this OneSignal tool, there's a create new segment button, which I'm clicking now, and session count, language, app version. I think that what you could do potentially would be to set up different. So you set up an app, you call it an app. So you could potentially set up a different app for different areas of your site, maybe. So if they're on, but then they'd be like you wouldn't be able to reach all of them at once. It would be kind of annoying, but
why wouldn't I be able to reach all of them at once?
Well, because they'd be sort of in different buckets.
Oh yeah.
Each app is like a different bucket. But there's a way to do user tags too. So there might be a way to do it. I just don't.
Yeah,
I'm not savvy enough yet.
Because if they get notifications for, they sign up for the notifications while they're on a Ruby Rogues episode, then it's like get Ruby Rogues episodes and devchat.tv announcements.
Yeah.
Because if they're getting notifications for 3 of the shows, and then I go, oh, we're doing React Dev Summit, everybody come sign up, I don't want to send it to them 3 times either.
Right. Oh yeah, that's true.
So I'll have to have a look and figure it out.
Yep, but seems like a pretty good tool. So I was seeing people like John, that 10%. So John was hearing 10% click rate, I think, on that, which is what I was seeing elsewhere on like just blog posts. That seems like that's the engagement rate is pretty high. So.
Yep.
So yeah, so that's been my week. It's been fun.
Cool. And John, are you just in a different room in your house, or are you somewhere else?
Oh no, I'm at a friend's house. So.
Okay. all I saw was the white walls and stuff, and I was like, okay. And you looked a little bit tired when you came on. I'm like, okay, so he's a little hungover. One of his kidneys is gone. Called in from the hotel room.
Yeah, but I'm here.
That's dedication.
Yeah, but I'm excited. This is a good move, I think, for Simple Programmer. Josh gets to wear the CEO hat and to take it where it needs to go. So I think this is going to be cool. And then I'm still trying to I'm trying to keep my brain from going into hustle mode. It's very hard.
Yeah,
because I keep on having all these ideas about YouTube. I'm like, oh man, you know what I should do? I should just focus on YouTube and just see if I can grow that sucker to 1 million subscribers. And I just need to chill out a little bit. So. But yeah, it'll be interesting. Probably my goal will probably be to just grow YouTube to 1 million subscribers, to see if I can do that. So I created a new Trello board for topics for YouTube, and I'll be recording. So I'm going to keep that going, and it'll be interesting to see what happens. But I think I expect Josh will be doubling Simple Programmer in a year.
Nice.
I think it's doable.
Yeah, I think so. It's good. I mean, it works out good that you can work with Lisa on that stuff, and that the direction of having it being focused on programming aspect of it is much. I think that has a lot more depth for the growth. So
yeah, well, especially for SEO as well. Like that was one of the downsides. I don't think we really talked too much about that, but with where you were going with the personal development stuff, that was going to be really tough on the blog. Like even if we shifted the blog to that, it would be very tough to get SEO traffic for that.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, like with soft skills is hard enough, right? That would be sort of an extra level of difficulty on top of that. But YouTube, YouTube is great. It's like a social channel. So
yeah, we were doing both things the hard way because it was like, so it'll be interesting. We'll see what happens. But yeah.
Cool. Well, I've got to take off soon, so I'm gonna nudge toward not picks. That's picks. All the other shows I do. I must be tired. Yeah, but yeah, let's do some thoughts. I don't mean to cut you off, John, but I do need to go.
All right. You know what? I've got it one for which is that sometimes it's good to make yourself force yourself to make decisions. You know what I mean? That when you instead of just thinking about things and analyzing things so much, it's just to say I'm just going to go and do it, and then just whether you and see what happens, right, and see what the result is, rather than analyzing, because sometimes the action is better than because you're going to get a feedback, right, rather than you could debate and analyze, right? And so with especially when you kind of already know, with Simple Programmer and stuff, it was kind of when I made the decision, it was just an instant okay, this is it, type of decision. And otherwise I could debate it for a long time. And I mean, I kind of did, but, and also I was thinking about lately, just if you can find ways to make you have to take action, right? Any way that you can, force yourself to move forward, whether that be an incentive or a penalty or something. That's kind of been something I've been focusing on a lot, even with the prep, in the taking with my fitness goals. It's I force action by saying, okay, well, you know what? Now you're running 6 miles every morning. Like, it's like, it's going to happen. You know, it's like, so yeah, that's what I've been thinking about a lot, is like just ways that I can, you know, make sure that the result is, that action is going to happen. You can't control the result, but you know, you can do certain things that are going to force action forward.
Mm-hmm. Nice. I think for me, one thing that came out of this week for me was, if there's something you really hate doing, then chances are you can find somebody else who loves what it is that you hate. So I've actually been having fun working with Rodrigo on this email stuff, just getting the email inbox, you know, figuring out the system for that. And I haven't been enjoying going through the emails. And John, that was like John's worst nightmare.
Exactly.
And I'm like a pig in slop, you know, I'm all excited because I'm getting all these replies. I'm sending out emails and getting replies, which to me is like market feedback, you know, dream come true. That was actually my biggest frustration just overall was how I felt disconnected from the audience. So like having more direct feedback from the audience is fantastic. But I mean, like for John, he just like when he was on that cruise ship for a week and he couldn't get into the email, he was like, you know, it was like the best thing ever. So so you know, there are probably things in your business that somebody else would be really, really excited about doing for you. If you can afford to find them, then it's worth it.
Yep. And yeah, my thought really is, it comes back to the sponsorship stuff I talked about earlier. I had a system that was working, and then I tried to change the system and automate parts of it, and I went a little bit too far, and it wasn't working until I went back to what was actually working. And so for me, I guess my thought is, one, if you have something that works, it's not wrong to try and change it and make it better, but keep in mind that there are some principles that make it work. And so, you know, whatever it is, you know, for me, it's having that sales call. You know, if I have the sales call, I close them. And if I don't, then I don't. And people don't believe me when I tell them my sales close rate is like 80%, 90%. But, you know, by the time they get on the call, you know, we've usually vetted them. We know what they want. And the people that don't get on the sales call are usually people that are just extremely busy and don't get on, or they just lose the thread of the conversation. It's not that they're not interested. It's just that life happens. And so it's the ones that I either hit at the right time or, you know, are really interested that wind up getting on the sales calls. But yeah, you know, so continue to look forward, because like I said, you know, there are a lot of things that I can still automate with this process. It's just that sales call is not one piece that I can automate away. You know, eventually I'm probably going to wind up hiring somebody to do that for me. But for right now, it's in a place where I like doing it. It pays off for me. And, you know, so I just went back to what worked. And sometimes that's what you got to do.
Well, one other thing about that too, Chuck, is that this is what you did with this is usually what most people that I talk to start with. They're like, okay, I'm going to build this great big form, and I'm just going to like buy traffic and send everybody this form and try to get them to sign up. And then they have no idea. Like, you at least knew where what was going wrong. You at least knew that what you had was working before, and that you just broke it with this process change. But a lot of, I have a coaching student right now who's like trying to build a software thing, and he's like wanting to send everybody to a sales page. And I'm like, no. Just get him on the phone. Just get him on the phone with you, because then you can get that feedback. So.
Yep, absolutely. Well, that was the other thing that paid off too, was that I know what numbers they're looking for now. And so I can start collecting some of that data.
It's priceless.
And the other thing that's kind of funny about it is that, I'm finalizing the details on my Get a Job course. I've got pretty much all the content recorded. And so it's just polishing it and, making it a little bit easier to follow. And so then I'm going to run that as a sort of regular sponsor in these sponsorship spots.
Yep.
And so some of the numbers they wanted were conversion numbers. And so what I can tell them is, look, I ran an ad for my own course, And, you know, I don't expect you to convert quite so well because I'm selling to people that already trust me.
Mm-hmm.
But here's how I can lend you trust.
You'll say that, but they're going to expect the same. They're going to be in their head. They're going to be like, "Oh, it's saying the same numbers." But yeah, that's cool.
But yeah, then I can actually say, "Look, so this is kind of the best case scenario, and these are the ways that I can lend you trust so you can get close."
Nice. That's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
Yep.
Be your own client.
Yep.
Good stuff. All right. Same bat time, same bat channel next week.
Yep. Talk to you next week.
Alrighty.
Yep. And
See
I'll
you guys.
invite Manny next week. If,
okay. Cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
Sounds good.
All right.
Alrighty. Bye.
Bye.
See you guys.